Hi there. Here are some instructions and guidance for the fourth short writing assignment, which can be found in the Week 12 course resources section. The article can be, and the Dropbox is also in the coursework section. I've decided to give you until midnight of Sunday, November 11th to complete the assignment. The Dropbox should stay open until then, or actually a couple of days after then, as I'm usually pretty lenient on due dates. The article is by Philip Longman, who is a senior editor at the Washington Monthly, which is described in the media world as kind of a center left, or what I would call the wonky left end of the ideological spectrum. Its founder, Charles Peters, was the kind of thoughtful liberal that never bought into the hubris of the 1960s on the left that convinced itself that conservatism was fated to be selected out of existence. Peters is the kind of guy who believed that the biggest problem confronting the country was that Americans don't understand how their government works, and so don't understand why the government so frequently succumbs to prolonged periods of ineffectiveness. Longman's article is a pretty good illustration of the kind of journalism on federalism that I would never describe as nonpartisan, but which is sufficiently policy oriented that his prescription of the problem that he's describing deserves a fair hearing, in my view. He's what in the progressive era would be described as a goo-goo, which is a good government activist. There are biases built into that kind of approach to politics, as we learned from Robertson. It can be elitist. It can be vulnerable to silver bullet solutions, a bit blind to the people's own biases, things like that. But I think his argument is interesting in conjunction with the coursework that we've been dealing with to this point, and it adds a dimension to the problem. So, of understanding federalism. So if you had the time to read and think about and write this essay, hopefully you can do a good job with this. I find the article interesting because Longman is making an argument about income inequality. He's basically arguing that there is a regional dimension to the broader problem of income inequality that is ignored in our contemporary discourse about inequality. He starts by noting that there's a general trend, which he characterizes as a convergence in income across region. What does Longman's history of income inequality across regions suggest about the trends in contemporary America? At one point, income inequality appeared to be closing, then it stopped quite suddenly. Why is that? What is Longman's thesis on why the long-term trend towards inequality convergence has stopped? How does Longman's account of why income inequality after decades of convergence began to diverge again? What theories does he consider to explain the American income divergence? Okay. What does Longman think about the market innovation explanation advanced by Berkeley economist Enrico Moretti in his book, The New Geography of Jobs, which was published in 2012. That suggests that once a monopoly area is able to attract an innovative workforce, more and more smart people will flock to that particular city. What do you think of his analysis of that thesis? When you think about smart cities, you think San Francisco, places like that, Austin. Right? These are places where that thesis would argue that there is a critical mass of innovators that's going to attract more innovators. On page 4, Longman asks, what then is the missing piece? The rest of the article is Longman's explanation about that missing piece. Your charge is to analyze his argument and explain how this article contributes to your understanding of federalism and of intergovernmental relations. And you're free to offer other suggestions and counteract Longman if you think his prescriptions are wrong. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. This should be a 4 to 5 page paper. All right.